A day in the life of a GMP audit. Inside the inspector's notebook, an audit doesn't begin when I walk into the building. It begins long before. In the days before my visit, I review the documents the site has sent me. The audit questionnaire tells me how they see themselves, their own self-assessment. I'm looking for consistency and honesty. Overly perfect answers can be just as suspicious as obvious gaps. The site master file is my map of their operation. It should match what they've told regulators and what I expect to see on site. If it's outdated or vague, that's my first sign their document control may not be as strong as it should be. From this, I plan my audit. I highlight areas of strength to verify and weaknesses to explore. It's 8:30 when I arrive. The reception is clean, signage clear, visitor logging in place. I'm already watching. If they can't keep a public-facing area tidy, what might their production areas look like? At 9 o'clock, the opening meeting begins. Leadership is present. QA, production, QC, warehouse. I explain the scope. Documents in the morning, physical inspection in the afternoon. Their overview of operations tells me what products they make, what changes they've faced, and what pressures they might be under. By 9:20, I'm in the document review room. First up, training records. I check operators are trained to the current version of every SOP they perform. If I see training on a superseded SOP, I'm already thinking about potential non-compliance on the shop floor. Next, I request the deviation and CAPA logs for the last 12 months. I'm looking for repeat problems. A sign the root cause hasn't been found. And for CAPAs that read more like quick fixes than permanent solutions. From there, I move to change control records. Every change, whether to equipment, processes, suppliers, or documentation, should be formally assessed for risk before it happens. I check whether the right stakeholders were involved in the assessment, whether validation impact was considered, and if training needs were addressed. A change with no linked risk assessment or no verification of effectiveness tells me their quality oversight may be superficial. At 10:30, I move to batch records. Good manufacturing means good documentation. If it's messy, incomplete, or looks like it was written up after the fact, I question whether the manufacturing itself followed the same discipline. At 10:50, I review validation files. Every critical process must be proven to work before it's put into routine use. That's process validation. Cleaning validation tells me whether they can truly remove residues between products. I check media fills in aseptic operations. Any failures here mean patient risk. I verify installation, operational, and performance qualification for key equipment, and check that requalification is done on time. If requalification is overdue, it tells me maintenance planning and quality oversight may be failing. At 11:15, I turn to QC lab documentation. Calibration logs must be current. If environmental monitoring shows repeated out-of-spec results without strong investigation, I'm concerned they may be accepting poor conditions as normal. The morning closes with data integrity checks. Audit trails show me if data has been altered. I check that only authorised staff have system access and that passwords aren't shared. If I can change results without leaving a trace, so can anyone else. And that's unacceptable. After lunch, the real test begins. The facility tour. We start in the warehouse. I check segregation between quarantined, approved, and rejected stock. If a rejected pallet is sitting next to released goods, that's a cross-contamination and mix-up risk. Temperature control devices must match the readings I saw earlier in the logs. Floors should be clean and damage-free. A cracked floor can harbour dirt and microbes. At the gowning zone, I watch operators dress for entry. Hand hygiene technique, gowning order, and avoiding contamination are all critical. If they cut corners here, the cleanroom will suffer. And so will product sterility. Inside the cleanroom, I scan the environment. Floors, walls, and ceilings should be intact, smooth, and easy to clean. Rust or corrosion tells me either cleaning chemicals aren't compatible with the surface, or maintenance is neglected. Peeling paint means contamination risk. Air vents should be clean, with filters seated properly. I check if SOPs are at the point of use, and that they are the right version. An outdated SOP on the bench tells me document control has broken down. If manufacturing is in progress, I stand back and observe. I'm watching for aseptic technique, material handling, and in-process checks. I want to see documentation completed at the moment the activity happens, not afterwards. An operator who leaves a line blank for later is creating an integrity risk. Where possible, I watch decontamination, correct preparation of cleaning agents, full contact times, and clean storage of equipment all matter. If a mop is stored damp in a bucket, that's a microbiological risk waiting to grow. I also visit utility areas. Water systems should be clean, free from biofilm, with drains free from standing water. HVAC systems should be well maintained. Blocked filters or leaks mean poor control of air quality. Finally, I sweep through staging areas near production. All in-process materials must be labelled and segregated. Expired or rejected materials must be clearly marked and away from active production. By 1600, we're back in the meeting room for the closeout. I present my findings, good practices, observations and deficiencies. I explain where immediate action is needed and where improvements can strengthen compliance. The best sites don't scramble for audit day. They operate in a state of readiness every day. Because they know GMP isn't for me, it's for the patient.